Welcome back to Footy with an Edge, as Manchester United have just beaten Brentford 1-0 to win a crucial 3 points in the top 4 race. It wasn't vintage United by any stretch of the imagination. It wasn't even a classic United under Ten Hag performance, but we just got the job done after picking up 1 point from our previous 3 Premier League games. And with just 10 games left in the season, we have to keep winning games like these because securing Champions League will be a huge achievement for Erik Ten Hag in his first season. And it's also going to help us land the right profile of signings in the summer because of the Champions League guarantee. In terms of the game itself, Ten Hag made some small tweaks from the Newcastle game that we asked for on this channel. In my analysis of the Newcastle game, I said that playing Weghorst and McTominay in the front 4 was a waste of time because we kept losing the ball in the final third, therefore making Rashford useless as well. So it was 7v10 in Newcastle's favor for most of that game. And the solution that I proposed was to play Rashford through the middle, Sancho off the left, and Antony off the right, and drop one of Weghorst or McTominay to the bench. And it's almost as if Ten Hag was watching that video because that's exactly what he did, and we're going to discuss these tactical tweaks in detail in this video. We also have a lot to talk about how Ten Hag is getting the best out of Sabitzer and Bruno in the midfield, so stay tuned till the end. As always, please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy, and don't forget to turn on all notifications to never miss out on content just like this. So I saw a lot of in-game tinkering from Ten Hag today, as I could count at least 4 different formations that we played in possession. So let's break down all 4 one by one, because with each formation we can learn about an issue that Ten Hag addressed from that Newcastle defeat. We start with the 4-2-3-1 as usual, that played as the 2-3-2-3 in possession that looked like this. In this shape, you had Rashford through the middle with Sancho on the left and Antony on the right hand side, with Bruno and Sabitzer operating as the 8s or 10s in the inside half spaces on both sides, with Bruno linking up with Sancho and Shaw to create chances from this side, and Sabitzer linking up with Dalot and Antony to create chances on this side. Then you had McTominay as the lone CDM next to the 2 fullbacks with the 2 center backs in behind. And the first thing I noticed with this shape in possession was how much more involved and useful Marcus Rashford was. I actually had to check my eyes in the first 20 minutes because I couldn't tell if that was Martial or Rashford playing through the middle. And we have a clip here to show you exactly what I'm talking about. We start with Rashford picking up the ball on the left flank, and notice how much space there is in the box for Bruno, Sabitzer, and Antony because Rashford has vacated his position to get into this left area here. As we play on, Rashford gets to the edge of the box and we see Dalot in acres of space over here. And this is mostly because of the overload of United players on the left hand side, which has forced Brentford to move to the ball side over here. As Dalot receives the ball, we see the Brentford defense shifting out to the right hand side again, as we'll see here, but there's still space for Antony to get the ball in this area. So Dalot plays it out to Antony, and as we pause it here, let's talk about United's options in the final third. Dalot is most likely going to overlap Antony either this way or this way, which forces either this midfielder or Rico Henry at left back to track Dalot's run, which means the other one of these two will probably be guarding Antony in this space. So if Rashford actually makes a run into this space over here, it means one of these 2 defenders has to track Rashford's run. As Antony gets on the ball, the midfielder actually ends up doubling up on him instead of tracking Dalot's run, which means the right center back has to chase Dalot's run into this space. And now there's a dangerous gap for Rashford to attack here, which means one of these 2 Brentford players have some defending to do. As we play it, we see Pinnock decides to stay with Sabitzer inside the box, and this Brentford player decides to go with Rashford, which means Rashford's about to be one-on-one in this area against this guy, and thankfully Antony sees the pass into Rashford here as well. As Rashford receives the ball, he tries to beat his man and put a cross in, but it ends up getting blocked over here. Now, despite nothing coming out of this play, did you guys see Rashford's movement and involvement in the whole play? He went from the edge of the box on the left wing to the middle to the right hand side to put a cross in from the touchline. I can't remember Rashford ever being this involved in the final phase of build-up. This is something we see Martial do quite often in terms of the give and goes and making multiple off-the-ball runs within the same play, but we rarely see Rashford do this. Usually Rashford passes it to his fullback and makes the run into the box, and that's about it. No matter how you slice it, Rashford's game has gone up leaps and bounds this season, and only time will tell what proportion of credit Ten Hag deserves versus the credit that goes to Rashford. Next, the second formation I saw us playing was the 3-3-1-3, which offered us a bit more control in possession, especially as Brentford kept dropping deeper and deeper in the first half. In this shape, the front three was the same, but behind them was Sabitzer playing more centrally, almost as a second striker in the pocket over here, making off-the-ball runs off of Rashford. Then Bruno dropped into the midfield three next to McTominay on the left-hand side, with Dalot being on the right-hand side as before. Then you had Luke Shaw dropping into the back three on the left side to help with the first phase of build-up. And in this shape, I noticed probably the best version of Sabitzer I've seen in a United shirt. He was able to drop deep to link up play and then spin back towards the edge of the box to get into shooting positions or make room for the players around him, specifically Sancho, Rashford, and Antony. And as always, you don't have to take my word for it because we have a clip here to show you exactly what I mean. In this clip, we start with Luke Shaw picking up the ball near the center circle in that back three that we just saw. And notice how Sabitzer is playing centrally as the 10, and he's already making the move to drop into this area here and pick up the ball from Shaw. As we play along, Sabitzer receives the ball and his movement draws Damsgaard off of Bruno on the left hand side towards him here, making this a very easy first time pass for Sabitzer into Bruno, as we see Sabitzer running off the ball into the space that he just vacated. As Bruno plays it to Sancho, look at how Sabitzer is still trying to get into the box, and this third man run makes it very difficult for Brentford to mark United defensively because they have to commit to marking these three players very early in order to make the right decision. If they get the wrong man, it creates all kinds of space for United near the edge of the box, which is obviously very dangerous for Brentford. So Sancho receives it from Bruno and plays it right back to him, and like I said, the Brentford players weren't sure who to mark, so they went with Sabitzer centrally, which left Sancho in space over here. But now Bruno also has space in this area because both these players went with Sabitzer to block this space, and Bruno can easily cut inside and create any type of chance that he wants to from the edge of the box. And that's exactly what Bruno does from this area by trying to find Dalot inside the box with a cross, but unfortunately it gets blocked off. This entire play happens because of Sabitzer, and he actually only touched the ball once. It was his off the ball run that made all of this space at the edge of the box for the players around him, and honestly I've been pretty underwhelmed by his game since he joined United, and it's largely because we haven't gotten him into these advanced positions where you can get the best out of it. Arguably, his best abilities are shooting from the edge of the box and making these runs off of the forward line where he can make space for the striker, for the wingers, and so on. And because we were playing him so deep in the double pivot because of, squad building issues all around the place, he wasn't actually looking very good in this team. I'm still not sure if he's worth pursuing on a permanent deal in the summer, but if he can keep contributing to the squad like this, he'll force United's hand. Luke Shaw's injury in the 37th minute is a huge concern for United because he's very important to every phase of build-up in Ten Hag's system. He can play in the back three as the third center back to build up the first phase, he can play as an inverted fullback next to the CDM to be involved in the second phase, and he can operate very comfortably in the final phase, putting in early crosses from this area or getting to the byline and cutting the ball back. So when Malacia came on for Shaw in the 37th minute, we had to change shape again, which was a 2-4-1-3 in possession that looked like this. In this shape, the front three and Sabitzer stayed the same as before, but Malacia actually joined the midfield in a wider area. Dalot got pushed out wide on the right hand side in midfield, and Bruno Fernandes dropped deeper to play as a 6 or an 8 in this space right next to McTominay. And it's here where I noticed Bruno's versatility the most because he was so much more involved in our second and third phases of build-up, and we have our third clip of the video to show you guys exactly this. We start with Bruno picking up the ball just in front of the center backs, and pay attention to Dalot on the far side. He has just started making a run towards the right wing where there's a ton of space, and Bruno hasn't even really seen this yet. As we play along, we see Dalot disappearing off screen to make that run, and Bruno has immediately launched the ball across the pitch to find him. And of course, it's a perfect pass to Dalot, who has Antony in space ahead of him in this area here. So Dalot plays it into Antony's path, and normally we'd expect him to take time on the ball or try to cut inside and shoot, but to everyone's surprise, he cuts it back with his right foot and McTominay ends up putting it over the bar. Look, I don't think anyone is surprised by Bruno's technical ability to find Dalot in space on the right hand side, but I do think people take Bruno for granted a little bit. Let's just take a step back and analyze Bruno's role in this team. He is our best number 10. He's arguably our best number 8. He's our best backup CDM because, believe it or not, he was playing as the sole CDM in the second half, as we'll see with our final formation up next. He's also our best backup right winger, and the only position that he's played in where we have 2 better players than him is the left wing. I'm going to say something that might seem outrageous, but it needs to be said. Bruno Fernandes is more important to this United team than Casemiro. Think about that for a second. Casemiro has been so important to us winning games this season, and we've missed him dearly whenever he doesn't play. But Bruno actually never misses games, so we don't even know what it's like to not have Bruno. In fact, I have a question for you guys in the comments below. Do you think we'd have won more games this season if Bruno missed the games that Casemiro did? I personally think the answer is no, but please let me know. The fourth and final shape we're going to discuss is actually the first one we saw in the 2-3-2-3, but with different personnel that look like this. In this shape, Bruno played as the sole CDM while McTominay was getting forward next to Sabitzer as the 8 or 10 in the half spaces. And like I've already said, Bruno is the glue that holds this team together. He was picking up the ball from the center backs and spraying the ball forward to make everything happen in that second half. And anyone that doubts his ability to play in this deeper role, just look at his stats today. He had 114 touches with 87% pass accuracy, which is pretty close to what you get from Rodri or Partey at City and Arsenal. He created 3 chances with 7 accurate long balls, which is approximately what you get from Eriksen in the deep-lying playmaker role. He had 13 passes into the final third, which is usually what Casemiro gives you from this CDM position. In fact, go check out Casemiro's on-the-ball stats from our 1-0 win against Betis on March 16, because they are shockingly similar to what Bruno gave you today. Casemiro had 106 touches, 4 chances created, 13 passes into the final third, and 7 accurate long balls. And if you guys are interested, please go rewatch that second half to catch 2 outrageous pieces of skill from Bruno Fernandes. In the 53rd minute, he gave the ball away in midfield and won it back through a nice tackle, and then showed great strength to keep the ball and dribble it into the final third. And in the 80th minute, Antony sold Bruno short at the edge of our own box, and Bruno managed to recover the ball and play a first time left-footed pass that must have traveled 60 yards up the pitch to get Marcus Rashford in behind the Brentford defense. I mean, this guy is a flat-out star, and he's my man of the match by a mile. So in closing thoughts, I thought Ten Hag got his formation, lineup, and tactics all spot on in this game after getting them all wrong against Newcastle. By putting McTominay back into the double pivot next to Bruno and playing Sabitzer in the 10, he found a way to fix a broken midfield from the game against Newcastle. Now we just have to get through one more game against Everton before Casemiro can be back into the starting lineup, and I'm pretty sure that Ten Hag will continue with the system that we saw today against Everton at the weekend. And it's really hard to say if Martial will start versus Everton, because I was hoping that he would start today. But he obviously looked amazing like he always does whenever he comes onto the pitch, and I'm just tired of getting my hopes up, so I'm going to assume that Martial's on the bench again versus Everton. Let's hope we get more from Antony and Sancho in that game on the weekend, because the Lord knows we need those guys to start delivering goals and assists as soon as possible. Hope you guys enjoyed this analysis. Like and subscribe if you did, and I'll see you next time.